Hey, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Welcome to this editing lecture here presented by the Media Arts Center San Diego. Happy to be here. My name is Joaquín Elizondo, and I'm a film and TV editor and the creator of the Hollywood Editing Mentor Program. It's so good to be here. I want to thank the Media Arts Center San Diego for having me. Media Arts Center, I'm from San Diego and grew up in the region. And so the Media Arts Center was something that I looked for after graduating from college many years ago. Looking for more resources to learn about filmmaking. I even got to volunteer there. So I'm very happy, very excited, and thrilled to be here and be able to do this. And I want to thank Ethan Ventello and Moises Esparza for the invitation, for having me. Thank you, guys. There's a lot of stuff to cover. So I'm going to kind of move through this quickly because there's a lot of information, good information for all you aspiring editors, people who want to know more about post-production and editing. And so we're going to be covering a lot today. Like I said, my name is Joaquín Elizondo. I'm a film and TV editor. I've been editing now for almost 20 years, been doing this. And I did not always want to be an editor, to be honest. After graduating from college, I went to school at the University of Michigan. And, when I returned home to San Diego, I grew up in San Diego and Tijuana, actually Chula Vista, right along the border, and Tijuana. And so when I came back from college, I got this thing. I studied film and TV at the University of Michigan, and so I wanted to be a DP, a director of photography, when I got back home. And I started working in local news, in Telemundo, Univision here in San Diego. And I was very focused on wanting to be a DP, learning the camera, right? That's what I wanted to do. And I knew how to edit. I back then it was Final Cut Pro. I forgot what version, probably version 4. And so I knew how to edit. But for me, editing was just kind of a way to piece my footage together. I really was focusing more on how can I become a better photographer, videographer, and eventually become a DP. And so I did that for many years, shooting and editing. And it wasn't later in my career that I really connected more with editing and decided to pursue it as my career, full-time career, and decided to just focus on editing. But like I said, I grew up in Tijuana and Chula Vista. I went to school at the University of Michigan. I started working in local news, as I said, and then after that, stayed in San Diego, and then went to another station and did more shooting and editing, this time for commercials and promos, stuff like that. I always wanted to work in film and TV. I just never knew how to do it, right? I didn't know where to look. I didn't know. I knew people were making movies, but I just didn't know how I could get on, a crew, or there's really not a lot of information, and less, in that time. And so, but I want to be creative. I wanted to shoot. I wanted to edit. So I was working, like I said, news, promos, commercials. Eventually, I got, I was not being creatively fulfilled here, working in the stuff that I was doing in San Diego. So I decided to leave. I went to New York City. I quit my job. I went to travel in Southeast Asia for like a month, and then went to New York City. Didn't have any contacts. Just went out there to pursue bigger projects. That's what I want to do. Still, at that time, it wasn't even necessarily film and TV. I just wanted to work on bigger, like, national shows, right? Kind of lead the local programming. And so, I started working over there for HBO Sports. I did some documentaries. I became the lead editor on Bravo's Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, which was really fun. Had a great time. Eventually, I got tired of the weather. I love New York, but it was, I'm from California. I need to be back here. And of course, LA made sense. That's where the jobs are at least for media here. And so I came back, and I knew I was going to LA. I still had the dream of working in film and TV. I did not know how to do it. And I came back to LA, or to California in LA. And so there I was, it was very competitive. It was very hard for me to work in even the stuff that I was doing in New York. New York, I had a very successful career, had a lot of work. I was very busy all the time. LA was very different, and it was very competitive. And I quickly found out that it was not going to be easy. And so my first year in LA was very tough. I barely worked. I was getting so much rejection all over the place. And at some point I was like, I think I need to look for another career because it was really that bad. And so I was in LA, right? So I was like, well, you know what? I wasn't getting any jobs in what I was doing. And so said to myself, you know what? I want to use this opportunity to break into film and TV, scripted TV. I'm not getting anything now. I have nothing to lose. I might as well just try. Of course, I didn't have any contacts. I didn't know how to do it. Nothing. There wasn't really any information online. So I just decided to kind of figure it out myself and create opportunities for me. And so I just kind of committed a lot of mistakes, just kind of worked at it, met a lot of people. And so as I went along, I started getting opportunities. And so it was just that by learning and networking that I kind of figured it out, got my break, started getting experience, and was able to then become an assistant editor on Narcos Mexico, and then eventually quickly got bumped up to editor. And that is why I created the Hollywood Editing Mentor Program. It is based on my experience of trying to break into Hollywood, and basically everything that I've learned now for almost 20 years working in media and in post-production. And so that is why I created it, because I know that, I know how it feels like what it feels like to be out there, being alone, right? And what you need is someone to guide you. You need a mentor. And I had a lot of mentors in my career. And so now I want to get back to the community and show and kind of, show everyone what I learned through my experience. And that is why I created the Hollywood Editing Mentor Program. You can find it at hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. Sign up for the newsletter. You'll get access to a private Facebook group, access to me, and many other bonus, offers by joining the Hollywood Editing Mentor community. So check out hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. And there's more information on there about the program. I can see we already have questions. We have questions already. Moises Esparza is going to be helping us out today and behind the scenes, playing clips. And so thank you, Moises. We got a question here from Ronan Borja. In the professional industry, would it be better investment to learn Avid or keep working in Premiere and Adobe's suite? If you want to work in film and scripted TV, you must know Avid. You must know Avid. That is, yes. I mean, I think nowadays, some productions are going, very little productions are going to Premiere. Still the standard in Hollywood is Avid. So yes, learn it. There's a free version of Media Composer now, which you can just download and learn it. And of course, there's a lot of free tutorials out there. So yes, Avid is a must. Thanks for your question. We're going to be taking questions throughout this session. So definitely put them in the chat box. Nopani Hernandez, I hope I said that correctly. What was it specifically that made you change your mind from DP to editor? I was connecting more with editing as far as telling a story. As a storyteller, I was more connected to the craft of editing than to photography. And honestly, after shooting many projects, my way of saying I wasn't connecting, I guess I'm saying I wasn't very good at it. I learned that I had to kind of let it go. And it was a very difficult choice because I really love it. I still love photography, but I just wasn't, was not very good at it, to be honest. And at some point you have to let it go. And I learned that my strengths were in editing. And that is what I started connecting with more. And I really just enjoyed it a lot more. And I'm glad I'm doing it now. And I do miss shooting though. I like it, but I got to admit it. That's not my thing. Thanks for your question. You got another one here from Jonathan Hodges. How did you make the jump from assistant to editor on Narcos Mexico? Thanks for doing this, Jonathan. Thanks for your question. I'm glad to be here and help out the community. From assistant to editor, that's a very good question. It was all about building relationships and showing people and allowing people to trust me with editing, right? So like the first thing was like I showed them, in this case, my editors, I would show them that I could edit, right? I gave them examples of short films that I had done, other projects, specifically one short film that I'm going to be showing you today. And I said, here, look, this is what I cut on my own time. Right away, they knew that I could edit. So that was, okay, I can edit. I can give him scenes. He can help me out. But besides that, it was just building a relationship with my editors, right? Really just getting along, being proactive, and as an assistant to like just not have to wait for them to give me instructions. I was always kind of one step ahead, made their job easier. And so that, with the fact that I could edit, it opened up opportunities for me. But it was a combination of just simply showing them that I had the skills, but more than anything is just the personality, the relationship. And they would bring me into the rooms when they would have sessions with, say, directors and producers. And then my first season of Narcos Mexico, I got a co-edit as an assistant. I got a co-editing credit. And then in the second season, I got another co-editing credit. And then finally, the third season, which I'm working on right now, I'm a full-time editor. But that is, the gist of it. That's kind of like the short version of it. I'll definitely talk more about it. And it's stuff that I talk about through my Hollywood Editing Mentor program. Again, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of personal experiences for myself and other industry professionals about breaking in or advancing our careers in post-production in Hollywood. So check it out, hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. Sign up for the newsletter. We'll be in touch. Great questions. We're going to move this along. And again, send us your questions. We're going to be answering them here today. There's a lot of ground to cover. So, but, just chime in whenever you like. I'm going to talk now about my film and TV experience. Like I said, I studied film studies at the University of Michigan, and film studies was more theory-based. It was not a lot of hands-on, training. Although we did shoot some movies and worked in studios, but it was more learning about film theory. Really, I learned all my skills, most of my skills on the job when I worked at Univision and Telemundo. I learned everything about audio, engineering, obviously videography, editing. I mean, so many things, working with producers. I was even a reporter at times. So I did, literally everything, I think. And so I got to say that was kind of like my second, film degree, I guess, there from Univision Telemundo. Shout out to them. And so after that, like I said, when I eventually did work in film and TV, I started working on low budget features because I got some good advice early on from successful people in Hollywood saying, hey, if you want to work in this, you need to stop making it about the money and get the right experience. So don't worry about what money you're making. Get the experience. Meet the people in the community, in the filmmaking community. That's what I did. So I started working in low budget feature films. So started, I wasn't making a lot of money. Probably I could barely even pay my bills. But I was getting that experience, right? And I was learning. And so I was getting credits little by little. It's just kind of snowball effect. And eventually till, I land Narcos, right? And so it's a process. It's a process. I'm not going to say here that it's easy. It's a process, but if you want to do it, you'll do it. And there's, I think, a way to do it. Everyone's path is different, right? There's no set formula, but I think there's, some basics, a foundation that one can have about how to start or advance their careers in post-production. And so a lot of it has to do with relationships. This is an industry built on relationships. So it's about networking, about meeting people. And, like they say, don't burn bridges. Just keep it cool with everyone and keep learning, ask questions, soak up knowledge, and things will start happening. But I think a good strategy is to kind of start from the ground up. Is where do you want to end up? You want to work in film? Start getting that film experience, whether it be working on local projects, with your friends, creating films. Just, now you can shoot with an iPhone, right? Go create a movie, practice storytelling. And then eventually, say you want to work on bigger projects, and start working on low budget indie films. Get that experience, get to meet those people, because what I learned is that maybe something that you think will lead to nothing, it will. And certainly in my case, it has. I worked on a short film that I'll show you later today, and that pretty much opened doors for me and gave me the opportunity to edit on Narcos. So I never thought that was going to happen, but it did. So it's all, you just never know, but always just keep moving forward, practicing, learning, because you'll never know where you'll end up. So like I said, there is a lot to talk about here. Again, now talking about tips for emerging filmmakers. That's what I say. I think, without being in LA, say right now you're in San Diego, I would say go make a film. Go make a short film, with your friends or by yourself. You can do it. There's now free programs you can download, editing programs. media composer being one of them, and just practice, watch a lot of films, really focus on the editing. Maybe if you can get access to scripts of films, you can do that. Check the script and then compare it to, say, the film that you're watching, because that's really when you see, editing is the invisible art, but that's when you can actually see what decisions were made, right, from script to screen, and you can see it in the editing. So a lot of ways to definitely learn about it. Now, like I said, I have my Hollywood Editing Mentor program, where I teach people, say, give them advice on how to break in or advance their careers. There's a lot of more resources like that now available, and there's more information. But start practicing, start learning. There are these jobs out there. Like I said, I didn't think I could do it. I didn't know where to look, but here I am, working on what is, before I started working on it, was one of my favorite shows. And here I am, it's a dream job. It's like, now I'm collaborating with people I used to see on the screen, their names. Like, now we're actually collaborating, creating a TV show, which is insane to me. I still pinch myself every day. But eventually, if you do want to work in film and scripted TV, you do have to be in LA. You do have to be there, and you have to know Avid. That is a given. I mean, you have to do it. And if you do make it to LA, start from the ground up. I mean, like I said, get on low budget indie features. Eventually you'll have to join the union. I have a whole video about joining the union, the Motion Picture Editors Guild, on my website, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. That's a process as well. But if you do also want to work in film and TV, you have to join the union. Like I said, there's a video on how to do it and what it is on my website, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. And so, yeah, make it out here. And once you're here, join the union, start working on these low budget projects, fill in on shows. Like what I did, I would go, say, on a TV show, let's say the assistant needed to leave. I would go in there and work for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Sure, it was only a week or 2 weeks of pay, but the real value was the experience and the connections. That was the real value. It was not looking at the monetary value. It was more about the connections. That would lead me to what, right? Even if it was only a week. But that's how you start building your credits, your resume, and your network. So like I said, it is a process, and it can take a while, but you need to be patient, and it will happen. Just kind of stick with it. I certainly wanted to quit many times, but I knew there was nothing else that I wanted to do. And so I just, stayed on the path and was able to make it happen. We have another question here from Teresa Valenzuela. What job are you working on for? Right now, I'm currently working on season 3 of Narcos Mexico for Netflix. So yes, that's what I'm working on. Check it out if you haven't. You start from the beginning. Start from Colombia. It's a great show. Like I said, it was one of my favorites before working on it, and I was able to basically land a dream job, to be honest. So yeah, just very, very happy to be able to do that. And if you're joining us late here, my name is Joaquín Elizondo. I'm a film and TV editor. I've been almost editing for 20 years. Started out in local news in San Diego, did promos, commercials, eventually moved to New York, where I worked on talk shows, documentaries, sports, and then eventually made it to LA and landed my dream job of working in film and scripted TV in Hollywood. So I want people to know that it is possible. There are these jobs out there for us. There are these opportunities. I was someone I grew up in Tijuana and Chula Vista. I didn't know where to look. And here I am, like I said, working pretty much what I consider my dream job. So it is possible. And there are ways to make those dreams happen. And certainly I talk a lot about that on the Hollywood Editing Mentor website, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. All right. I think we're going to move this along. Again, if you have any questions, like I said, a lot of info to cover. Hit us up in the chat box. Moises is helping us out here. We'll gladly put it on screen. We'll talk about it. We'll answer it. But I'm going to move it along now to I think what a lot of people want to see is the editing, right? Everyone likes to see, talk about editing, look at editing, and look at cool stuff. So I'm gonna jump into this section now and talk about more editing. what is my personal philosophy on editing? Editing, in the end, you're telling a story, right? You're a storyteller, and so you do that by manipulating obviously images, sound, everything, whatever you have to do to tell a story. Um, and so obviously as an editor, you're looking at performances. You're seeing what you're trying to create a certain emotion. I'm big on rhythm and pacing. I'm a big music guy, and so to me, rhythm and pacing is important to me. And it's something that I just, from watching cuts, it's something that I just feel in my gut. Like it's just a gut instinct. Like what is working as far as rhythm, right? You can hit the gas pedal a little bit or hit the brakes. Kind of you have that ability to manipulate time, and say, like I said, rhythm. And so that is what we can do as editors. And so it's not always about, say, what are the best shots? What's the most beautiful shot? What's the best continuity? What's matching? It's not necessarily that. Sure, those things are important, but in the end, you're trying to tell a story, right? And that is by, what do we have to do to manipulate this to create the story that we're looking to tell? And so that's in the end what we are as editors. And so that's the focus. I think that should be the focus when we edit, is what is the best way to tell this story, and what do I have to do? Do I have to move scenes around? Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's very difficult. It's an invisible art, because sometimes it's, well, if I move this scene over here later, will it play better? Will it create a certain emotion, right? Versus having it, over here sooner. If I switch these two shots, if I let me get a reaction shot from this character. Oh, he looks sad in this one. Oh, he looks happier. What is he thinking? What are his eyes doing? Right? It's all these things that we need to look at. How's the sound here? Do I put a reverb on it? What does that create? What if I take out the score and just leave the ambient sound? Well, let me add some score. What does that score do? Right? It's about just trying many different things. You have so many tools at your disposal. It's not just about cutting images together and finding like the best angles and everything. It's everything else. It's everything about, I said, gestures, looks, sound effects. I'm big on sound. Again, sound effects, the music, so many things that go into editing. We have another question. I love it. I'm glad you guys are asking questions. Mi compa, Dimas Corona. What's up, buddy? As an assistant editor currently working on small marketing campaigns, how can I prove myself to post-production supervisors in bigger companies or TV shows to get my foot in the door, at least for an introductory interview? I think it's a very good question. I see it more as my strategy is just to get in the room, right? I don't necessarily think of it as proving myself. I just want to get in the room. That's all I care about. Once I get in the room, maybe I'll think about proving myself. Initially, it just really is a strategy to just get in that room with the people. And so what I used to do is I would always try to find people's emails, right? Direct contact, send them a direct email and say, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm interested in say the production you're managing, the show you're working on, whether it's I'm a fan, whatever. I like it. I want to learn more about it. I think the approach is to not ask something from them, right? Not be like, hey, I'm looking to get a job here. It's more like, I want to learn from you. How did you do it? I always ask people, how did you get to where you are, right? I'm actually really curious about people where they get to, like, say, in certain job titles or positions. And, it's like, you want to learn from them. You don't want to just say, hey, I'm looking for a job. And so you want to learn, you want to ask for, well, at the time when we could do it, have coffee and stuff like that. But, right now it's a perfect time to network. Right now, people want to meet, people want to talk. And so, it's just simply, hey, can I chat with you? I have some questions. In that process, when you are in that room, then that's when you can say, it'll come out, I think, naturally through the conversation that you're interested, say, to work on this show or this production, right? But I think initially it's about, the strategy is to simply get in the room, right? And you want to get people to help you and to share knowledge. You want to learn from them. You're not just out there, looking for a job. Because I think that really, when you tell people that, right away, people are just like, oh, well, that's what he's looking for. People want to build relationships and want to see that you're genuinely interested in what they're doing and that you want to learn. So I think that's a good strategy. I think it's really is about just simply first thinking about just simply getting in that room. It's just getting in that room, just get opportunity. Like you just want to chat. And so eventually then you say, hey, this is what I do, and I want to do this, right? And I think people will respect you and listen to you. You say, hey, these are my goals, right? This is where I want to be. And they see that you're focused and that you're willing to put in the time, the hard work into it. People will give you an opportunity. So keep at it. Keep at it. Any more questions? All right. Going to be moving along here. Like I said, a lot of stuff to cover. And so want to get into editing again, talking about how this is, in the end, we're just storytellers. We're just telling a story. And so that is the main focus. That's our goal as editors. A little quickly about the difference between editing, say, for film and TV. I think before there was more of a difference between, say, like what was editing for TV and what was for film. I mean, TV back in the day, I think when it was more like networks, it was more like kind of more faster pace, quicker cuttings, just kind of reaction shot, over shoulder, this and that, back and forth. In film, obviously, things just played out more. Obviously, a feature film was an hour and a half longer. Moments just played out more. And so now with streaming and basically like all these shows now that pretty much are films, are small films. There's different now styles, and it's a more, I guess, filmic style type of editing, right? We're sitting on moments longer. A lot of people are doing like oneers, shots where they last for 5 minutes, and stuff that you wouldn't see necessarily in TV before. It was more about just cutting, moving it along. Now there's more of a style, and saying more in the streaming shows, right? But it's a different medium. I mean, TV is more of a producer's medium, where the producer has more control, and the producer and the studio, and film is more the director. You're working more closely with the director. So that's a big difference, say, in post-production, in the world post-production, between film and scripted TV. And that scripted TV, like I said, it's more the producers, writers, the studio have more control and what ends up on the screen, versus film, where you're working directly with the director. It's the director's vision, right? And so I've been lucky enough to work on both types of projects. I've edited feature films, have been an assistant on feature films, and have edited and assisted on scripted TV. So I've seen both sides of it. People ask me what I like better. That's a tough one to answer, honestly. I mean, the good thing is that the stuff on TV now is very film-like, so there's a lot of good stories being told right now on TV. So, I've been enjoying it. I gotta say, but I've always been a film guy. All right. We're going to talk about now, kind of go through examples of editing and stuff that I worked on. I worked on this film when I got to LA, called Trust No One. It's a short film. I had never edited anything narrative before. Like I said, this was like I just barely got to LA. I was wanting to break into film and scripted, and so I said I need to get experience. I was lucky enough to get on this short film, which had a healthy budget. It was directed by Simon Cassianides, good friend, who he's an actor, but wanted to try directing. And so he wanted to make a short film, action film, to just kind of practice directing and show off his acting skills as an action star, which by now you can see him on The Mandalorian. If you guys watch The Mandalorian, you'll see my friend Simon on there as one of the Mandalorian rebels. I think it's episode maybe 4. But yeah, Simon's a good guy. So he gave me this opportunity to work on the short film because it had a good budget. I think it has a big fight scene, and so they had the stunt coordinators from the Bourne Identity movies on there. So it was a legit production, and so I was lucky to get this opportunity. And again, I had no experience in narrative filmmaking, but in the end, it was about the relationship that I had with Simon. Simon just liked me, and he said I understood the script, and we got along. And really, that is why he hired me. He never saw any editing examples for me, and really I couldn't show him anything, any narrative examples because I had none. But I got the job, and so that's what I'm saying. It's about building relationships. It's a big part of it. But this is the first short film that I think I've ever edited in my life, and so it definitely opened up opportunities for me in the end. So I just want to kind of go through the edit and show you also the project, kind of what a film or scripted TV project looks like in Avid. I'm using Media Composer version 2018. And so we'll just jump into it. You'll probably get some feedback here when I share the screen, but I also want to remember to, or say, turn up your volume. You might need to turn up your volume. So just letting you know when we watch this and any other clips. Teresa Valenzuela, thank you. This is so cool. I haven't heard anyone talk about what I want to do. You're totally schooling me. Hey, Teresa, I'm glad you're here. Yes, that's why I'm here. And that's why I want to tell people, how to, if they want to work in editing, post-production, that's why I'm here. I want to, give everyone advice, tell people how they can do it, and that it is possible. It is possible to work editing films and scripted TV shows. So I'm going to jump over to Avid. Like I said, turn up your volume. You might need to turn up your volume. And I apologize for the feedback. We'll get out of this as quickly as possible. Let me see. It's not. Let me jump over here. There we go. Hope you're seeing Avid there. I think you are. So I want to quickly here. I'm going to grab this project. I just quickly show you what I'm big on organization. I'm big on project organization. I think. Like I said, I was an assistant editor, and so I'm big on organizing. It helps you move along faster, finding things. If other people want to look for stuff in your project, they can find them. It's important to be as organized as possible, especially as an assistant. Your editor will definitely appreciate that. But a standard kind of, again, I want to make it clear though that the stuff that I'm talking about here today, whether it be about, say, any career advice or editing tips, I want to make it known that this is just what has worked for me, the way that I do things. This is not the actual, like, the only way to do it, right? Everyone has to find their own way, but I'm just kind of showing you what has worked for me, or my suggestions and my advice. But there's no set formula for anything. All right, just want to make that clear. So we're good on the. Let me see. I'm gonna real quick. Sorry guys. Just gonna put over here on the side so I can see what's going on the screen. I'm really want to make sure that you're seeing. There it is. I see the. Watch. There it is. All right. So I'm going to hide this over here. Let's quit this real quick. Sorry, guys. Okay. So here's the Trust No One project. At the top, I usually put a cuts folder. This is where I have all my cuts, the cuts that I'm working on. So like, say if I start to do my first assembly, my first pass on something, anything, I'm working with the director. This is where it would be, right? So if you go to cuts, you could see, here in this case, I have my current cut, whatever. Let's say the moment that I'm the most current cut, it would be here. My editor's cut or archive of cuts. That's where all my cuts would lie, right? Scenes, basically all my scenes that I'm working with would be here. For example, here's like all the scenes that were, part of this, made up this short film. And so what I usually do is, for example, I do a bin here with my dailies, right? This is the footage, say, for this scene. We'll get back to this in a bit, but, I'll cut that and then I'll put it here, in the scenes folder. There's a bin. I know that, for example, I need to cut that scene in the morning. And then when I'm done with it, I'll just put it back in or I'll put it in scenes, and then I know that I'm done with it, and it's a way to stay organized. I put stuff in folders so that you just don't take up so much space. Could you imagine if I opened the scenes folder and then you saw all of this? It's just messy, right? And it gives me a headache. It makes me nervous, and I don't like it. Music, in this case, I have score. Probably used. I know we use a lot of Sicario on this short film, just a temp. I use temp music, right? So I don't obviously can't use Sicario score on this, but I'll use it to just temp, give the composer an idea of what I'm looking for, what the director's looking for, as far as music wise, right? So we'll use whatever, anything, any score from any film, a TV show, whatever, or even temp music. For example, I used The Prodigy on this. I use Cryptopsy. It's a death metal band, and so whatever music that we might need to say someone's listening to something on the radio, right? Well, so anyways, but they're just ideas, right? Eventually they'll either clear a song, they'll get the rights to it, or someone will provide it in some way. Sound effects, the way I like to do it is I like to have a bin for every category. Some people like to have one bin with like a bunch of sound effects. I don't like to do that. I just like to be able to open this and say, hey, you know what? I need some gunshots. Okay, then there's my gunshots, right? I need some door sounds. They're my door sounds, because obviously we, as editors, we do a lot of the sound design. It's a temp sound design because you'll have the sound department that'll do the actual sound that you'll end up on screen, right? That you'll watch, say, on Netflix or whatever, or Amazon, or on the movie theater. But in the meantime, we as editors, and really our assistants who do the sound design, we'll do the temp sound design to sell an idea. We're just selling an idea. We're telling people, hey, we're telling the sound guys, hey, sound guys, this is what we're thinking, right? We want the music to come in here, and we want the gunshot here. And, obviously they're the sound guys, they're the pros, they'll do it their way, but they use our timeline, our project, as a reference. And so, yes, part of this job is doing sound design. And I think as an assistant, a tip here for assistants, if you're good at sound design, editors are going to love you. I will love you because I am big on sound design. And so I'll get into sound a little bit more later. FX, if muzzle, let's say like muzzle flashes, have gunshots, muzzle flashes, anything, stuff like that. I would put in here. Graphics, here I have, like backgrounds, the credits, locators, say like if we're like a establishing shot of a city, we'll see, like a graphic locator saying where we're at, stuff like that. VFX, we do some. This is a question I get a lot. How much do I need to know, say, of After Effects, and how much of VFX do I need to know? Look, if it certainly helps for someone to know, say, After Effects, you can do it great. But in the end, there's VFX artists. As editors, we'll do temp VFX, very simple temp VFX in Avid. Say if we need to put do a TV comp, if we need to put, say, they shoot a TV with like, say, green screen, and we'll need to put some type of a show in there or whatever needs to go in the TV, we can do that. Simple stuff, simple green screen stuff we do. But I look, we're not VFX artists, right? But certainly if you have After Effects skills or VFX skills, hey, obviously that will not hurt. But it's not something that's required for the job. It's greatly appreciated, but I wouldn't say it's required. Exports, this is as an assistant, you would have bins or folders for all the various types of exports, outputs that you're doing of your film. So for like the director, for color, for the composer, for sound, no sé qué es esto. I don't know why I have that. So, it's just, again, a way of organizing, because imagine if I have, like, say, an exports folder here with one bin, and then I have one bin with like just tons of like exports. I'm just going to get confused. Maybe if you need to track something, you need to know, hey, when did I send this out? Well, at least, here you can go like, well, it's for the composer. I'll go here and then I'll see the date. Everything has a date, and I can go find that output, right? So again, organization is very important. Sound ADR. ADR is, we'll do stuff, if they didn't record a line, say of dialogue on set, or if they want to add a line, we'll record it. Here, literally, like right now on my microphone, I just did this last week. I'm gonna record a line, right, and just say, hey, like, whatever it is, and then obviously then the actor will do it eventually. I think we have a question. Sorry, guys, I have a let me stop because it's gonna feedback. Let's see. I have a question here from Aldo González. Es muy importante que se hagan este tipo de actividades culturales. De acuerdo, claro que sí, Aldo, y qué bueno que estás aquí con nosotros. Para eso estoy aquí. I'm here to share knowledge, information, advice. I know what it's like to be out there seeking that. I was once there. I still do. I still look for knowledge every day. So that's what I'm here to do and have this resource. Again, check out hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. Sign up for the newsletter. Stay in touch with me and get other goodies about editing, post-production, career advice, editing tips, everything. Check it out. Sign up today, hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. Jumping back in. Oh, yeah, and keep sending your questions. Very good questions. Jumping back here on Avid. Other stuff here we have is marketing. Sometimes the marketing department is going to want stuff for you to send them. So there's a folder for that. Dailies, all the dailies. There's no dailies in there right now, but everything that we get from production, the dailies is the footage, right? The footage that we're going to edit would go in here in dailies, and then the assistant would prep them into individual scene bins, right? So that I only know I might get a bin, say, with a bunch of dailies, a lot of footage, different scenes, right? I might get scene 1, scene 15, scene 20. And so what I want an individual bin for every scene, right? And this is what it is. This is what I will work off of to edit. So might as well just stay here. This is a scene, the first scene of the short film. We meet our two characters, Ben and Amber. And, this is a big, a very important thing about this is how do you organize your dailies, right? And the way I like to do it, again, this is just me, is just kind of have every setup in a different, row, right? So just have, like, this is setup 1, this is 1A, 1B, 1C. And so this way, and I set a thumbnail, right? I look at it in frame view. And so I can see the frames in the thumbnails, and I can see what each setup is, right? So I know that here's the close-up here on the Ben closing the trunk. This is the close-up on Amber. So over shoulder, on Ben, 2-shot. And so I automatically can see what I'm working with, the pieces, right? And so this is, I'll show you just quickly what the scene looks like, and I'll just go through it. But basically, Ben and Amber, they're trying to sell this USB stick with some important information, crucial information to some mafia guys. So they're having a talk about it. They're going to go into this building and make the deal, right? And so I'm just going to play a little bit and talk about the scene.
I just can't commit to these odds. The probabilities of discovery.
Let's just get this done. Did you lock the trunk?
Yeah. But I still think we should be armed.
I told you they'll frisk us. I would.
3 floors, at least 65 apartments, 3 accessible exits on a circle.
Stop.
Why? Explain to me how doing things your way's worked out so far on this. All right? Let me just figure out how the fuck we're gonna get out of this.
You brought it with you?
Don't know where we are by now. Don't know everything.
That was the only bargaining chip you had.
I'm dead with or without this. You know that.
right. My buddy there, Simon Cassianides. So that's a scene. What I'll talk about is, for example, the direction that he gave me initially was, hey, you know what? I want to start with this. This was shot, with the intention to use it as the opening shot. We start on this woman's eyes. We're like, well, who is this? Where are we? We're in this car. And then suddenly he's like, I want to close the trunk and we'll go back outside. And then that'll, just kind of wake us up. And then we'll go back into the car, but we still don't want to. This was very important to him. I still don't want to see who these two are, who these two characters are. I want to maintain a little bit of mystery. So that's why he shot from behind them. He says, I want to stick with the backs of their heads as much as possible, and then just finding the right moment to come around and show them, especially Ben. Right? I want to make it more of a reveal. And we got to just choose the right moment. What the right moment is, we don't know. It wasn't, at least scripted. He didn't know. It was more about let's cut this together, and really where it feels right, where it feels right. We'll know when to come back out and then do the actual reveal on Ben, right? So here I stuck with like I said, their backs, other heads, just all the way through here and so eventually.
Three accessible exits on Stop. Why? Explain to me how doing things your way's worked out so far on this.
I think for me, what was the reason why at this point I decided to come out and show him, it was based on, I think, performance and the energy, and just the timing. Because it's like, well, at some point, like, is the audience gonna get bored just looking at the back of his head? Right? It just felt right, honestly, to tell you the truth. At this moment, it was just time. We sat in the back seat for a while, and it was based a lot on just kind of how he delivers the line, his emotion, and at that moment is why I decided to like I said, say reveal him, right? But kind of the way that I would approach this, right? And it's important, I think, like I said, I have actually the script here. This is what it looks like, right? On paper. This is what I get first, right? And it says, ECU, extreme close-up of a woman's eyes. We pull out slowly, revealing an enigmatic, serene, poised woman in her 20s. You saw that, right? By now, we see the car she's in and her clothes, both equally tired, but there's a visceral immediacy in her bearing. This woman can handle herself. We can't help but be captivated by her. It's Amber. And then we go into the slam. The trunk slams shut. A man walks around, jumps in, agitated, eyes everywhere. Ben in his 30s. Any other day he'd be handsome. Today, the freshly bruised knuckles and scuffs would distract you. A lot of description there. So the guy, good-looking guy, but he's beat up. This guy, there's an edge to him, right? To both of them. And so that's what it looks like. And then we get into the dialogue, right? So what I would do, say, for example, and I think it's important, like to look at this, right? Look at scripts, and we talk about editing. But from here, basically what I like to do to get going, I watch everything. So I'll, create a new sequence. I'll call this, say scene 1. I'll do a string out, and I'll put I'll get dialogue here, right? So I'll just grab this, and then I'll just drag and drop the scenes, the setup. And so I'll just hit play. You'll see here. And I'll just sit back, get some coffee, get some tea, whatever, and start watching. Because the reason I want to watch everything is because I want to see, I don't want to miss any moments. And I'm not only talking about just dialogue. I want to see if there's maybe some looks, anything. And I'll get to a better example later on. But anything that I might, I don't want to miss it. And the thing is that sometimes when they haven't called action, and these red markers here indicate that that's where action starts. And that's something that an assistant would place there, so that I know that I can just open up this clip and be like, okay, that's where the action begins. But anything beyond action, you might get a look. You know, she might be looking somewhere. You might need that look, even though they haven't called action. Someone might be doing something. You never know what's going to happen. The camera might pan over. You could use the pan to create a transition, whatever. Any fair game. Anything is fair game. You can use whatever. There's no rules. And so that's why I just sit back and just literally watch everything. So that obviously can take time. It's real time. So however many, you know, hours they shot or minutes, whatever, I'll watch it. So then I have an idea of what is in the scene. You know, what, you know, have an idea of what, say, how did they deliver the lines in different takes. I'll write sometimes notes and say, you know, in take one, you know, he was more, you know, aggressive, more emotional, blah, blah. Take two, he brought it down a bit. Or I just make mental notes, right? I just make mental notes. But it's important to watch everything so you know what you're working with. And also when you're working with a director, and a producer, they expect you to know the footage, right? So if they say, hey, is there another take where, you know, she does this? And you can be like, oh yeah, let me go to that, you know, or say, no, you know what? No, that's the way she delivered it, right? So it's important to know your footage. So then let's say I want to start editing. You know, recently what I've been realizing that to get me going, because sometimes it's like, man, okay, I don't know how to, sometimes I have a clear idea of what I want to do, what direction I want to take. And sometimes I don't. And I kind of like, all right, I'm kind of stuck. So what I like doing is I like to start building the scene by line. Just put them together, you know, start building it. So for example, like if I go to this here, the first line from Ben, I can't tell the first line from Ben is I can't tell from the street. I just can't, the probabilities, right? So I might go into, I'll just go here, you know, let's go to Ben. We'll get the him walking in the car, right? We'll just get it. I mean, I'm going to use it. I'm just going to get it.
Just can't commit to these odds. Probabilities of us getting fucked on.
Let's just get this done.
But you know, all right, he said his line, so I'll just do that, right? I'll put it in. And then I'm going to go to hers, right? So then I'll just start building it.
Probabilities of us going
Let's just get this done.
So I'll just get, you know.
Let's just get this done. Block the time.
Yeah. But I still think we should be armed.
So in that case, you know, they did kind of like the pan over and the rack focus. All right, well, we'll see what we can do, you know, like, well, I'll just put it in. But in the end, just right now, I'm just building based on what the script is. And so I'll just keep doing it. Then we'll go, let's say this is just to keep it simple, right?
Did you lock the trunk?
Yeah. But I still think we should be armed.
Armed, right? So
be armed.
I told you go first, guys. I would.
And then his next line.
At least 65 units for accessible access points.
Stop.
Right, so then I'll just build it, you know, and I'll keep going. And so then I'll kind of start going and saying, all right, what's working, what isn't?
Probabilities of us getting fucked on.
Let's just get this done. Let's just get this done.
Right, so
Probabilities of us getting fucked on.
Let's just get this done.
so
probabilities of us getting.
Let's say you want to cut to her.
Let's just get this done.
We can do that, right? Say like she wants to say get this done, right? So we can just do that.
Probabilities of us getting.
Let's just get this done.
You know, if I want to start messing with that, obviously, you know, it's going to require some smoothing, right? But you kind of start then seeing where, you know, we start kind of like saying, where can I overlap some dialogue? You know, can I, you know, where can I kind of start kind of?
I told you.
Should be armed.
I told you go first, guys. I would.
3 floors. At least 60.
So let's say, like, for example, here, like, then I want to get like he's saying his line, for example, and then I'm like, well, I want to get a look from her, right?
65 units, 3 accessible exits.
Stop.
Well, that's not there, for example, right? In that take, they didn't do it. And so you kind of start looking, see what works.
Let me just figure out. Explain to me how to do.
So let's say there, right? She kind of looks. She's like, oh, like, dude, this guy's rambling. Like, stop. You know, so you could just kind of be like, all right, I kind of start layering this, right? And so
65 units, 3 accessible.
kind of get it more to and it, of course, then you get into the whole matching continuity stuff and
65 units, 3 accessible access points.
Stop.
Why?
that was a that just landed miraculously on the line.
Stop.
She's not saying it in that take, but it just landed there. So you'll get these like kind of
65 units, 3 accessible access points.
Stop.
that just happened. But you know, that's kind of like how we start building stuff, and I'll just keep on going, and then eventually, then when I have the scene built out dialogue wise, I'll then go back and start, you know, then that's where you start sculpting, right? You start moving kind of pre-lapping dialogue or whatever. You kind of start creating your pacing. You figure out then once you have shots in context, then you're like, well, you know what, that take that I was looking at that I liked by itself, now when I put it up next to the other one, her reaction, it's not working right? So then, okay, now I have to go back and find a different take. Oh, you know what, in take 2, you know, he says it this way. That might work better. So then you go back and do it, right? I want to bring this up real quick, though. For example, there's a shot here of and this is important to bring up. You know, they did this kind of wide shot of the car, Ben getting in. They do the whole scene here, and then they get out and they leave. I love the shot. Like, I think it's cool. Well, the reason I bring this up is because, you know, you don't always have to use everything. Just because, like, you have all these shots here, you don't have to use it. They shot it, but you know what? If it doesn't help your story, like, don't use it. And so, like, if I go back to the cuts, you know, I tried it. I just tried it, right? I did at some point did try the wide shot, but you know, I'm in this kind of, you know, space. I'm in this kind of, you know, especially if you want to create some mystery. You know, I don't want to, like, I want to stay in this car. Like, going back out to this, to the car. It's like, you know, now it's just white. It's bright. I don't feel the dread. I don't feel, you know, it just actually takes me out of the story. The only time I go out on a you know, outside the car is for the slam of the trunk, and just because I have to. You can't, if you get the, you know, if you get the slam from behind. Although I did try it, I just wanted more of an impact on the slam, right? You could definitely, for example, go from here, slams it, and then cut to you know, Ben getting in the car, right? You could do that. But we wanted to get the hard cut to the hand outside to just kind of create some, you know, just wake people up or whatever, you know, some surprise or whatnot, you know. But you know, that's just kind of some examples. I want to just kind of show you real quick. This fight scene, just, I won't show a lot of it. Kind of keep it, you know, PG here, but I'll just show you quickly a little bit so you can see what we did. It's pretty fun.
You've got everything you want on that USB. Why don't you just give us all the money now and everybody wins, yeah?
Let me put this in full screen. All right. Like I said, it was the crew from the Born Identity movies, the stunt coordinators. They did this fight scene. In the initial conversations, you know, Simon wanted to do this with less cuts, but that involves, having say play on wider shots. It involves, very experienced stunt people. It's a lot of money, and it's so in the end, it's kind of a decision based on budget. It's like, you know what, we're just going to do this with cuts because, it is a short film. It did have a budget, but not, obviously like a Born Identity movie. And so you start doing stuff with cuts. Versus say playing it on a wide shot and just showing stuff, action happening. So it was really well. I mean, it was storyboarded. It was really well crafted. And so, I wanted to show you just kind of like one thing, some kind of tricks here. This is right here when he hits the sink. Right here. That, right? So I'm going to show you the difference. In the editor's cut, initially, what I had was this. Oops, sorry. Go real quick. I just want to show you this. Over here. This is like the first version of it. Simon was like, you know what? I'm not feeling that hit on the sink. Like, I'm not feeling it. I need something. How can we do it? I mean, the actor, I'll show you how the actor does it. I mean, this is the actual footage of him doing it. That's the shot, right? Obviously, you can't go like hit the sink hard like that. So, what do we do here? Okay, how do we do this? Well, my first thought was, obviously, the first thing is the sound, right? As you can see here, there's no sound. I mean, that's the first thing that came to mind. All right, I'm gonna put a sound of the sink, like hit the head hitting the sink, right? That. I put that in there. Obviously, put the punch, the body drop, and everything. So he's like, "Nah, I'm still not feeling it." And so, well, okay, let's get creative, right? What can we do with the existing footage? Well, we tried speeding it up. That wasn't working. Just with a straight up speed ramp, was not working. And so what we did is we went in, and I'm talking about like why it's important to watch your footage, because look at this shot, right? He starts here. If you go slow motion here, go through it, scrub it. He kind of goes here, and then it jumps like a frame, and he hits the sink, right? So we took out a frame or two, but I'm gonna put the playhead here, right where the shot starts, and I'm gonna match frame into the clip on the left side here. I'm gonna play it. So where this marker is, this is where this marker here on the left side, that's where this shot starts. What does that mean? It means that the action hadn't even been called. We needed a movement of him coming into frame. You can sense the movement of him falling, right? Where they call action. That's where they call action. He's too close to the sink. We needed him to be further away so you can see him falling in and hit his head. And so we did, let's just go back here and grab this little piece where he's coming in right before he stops. We'll then cut to him hitting the sink, right? And that was the best we could do with what we had. And so then you can see, I mean, when you play, you can't tell. I mean, it's very hard to tell, but if you go, probably, it just kind of adds a, more. It's just a bigger hit. But I wanted to show you that, and I was just kind of tell you little tricks, and also just the importance of, say, watching all your footage. I'm going to check back here. Going to move it along. I'm going to check back here, see if we have any questions. Sorry, guys, I've been looking at avid. Any questions? What was the name of this film and the actors again? The film is called Trust No One. Trust No One, and it was directed by Simon Kassianides. He's a great actor, great director. But Trust No One. That's what it's called. I have some questions. What do trailer agencies get from you guys? Cut scenes, dailies. So for example, like going back to having like a marketing folder, they'll ask for, send me clips from, like, for example, like we'll say, hey, send us these clips from their episode. Say I'm working on Narcos, send us these clips. We want this scene, right? And so we'll send that out. They'll start building, so they can start building the trailer. That's what they usually ask for. So we'll constantly be sending material to trailer agencies and the promo department, marketing department. One more question for sure. Jonathan Hodges, your main timeline has quite a few audio tracks with sound design. What happens when the director wants to start adjusting the cut when you have all those layers of audio? Of course. When I'll say this, I try to nowadays, I try to keep my audio tracks very limited. I learned from my great friend, Garrett Donnelly. He's a great editor, great friend, has helped me out a ton. When I was his assistant, he would say, hey man, I don't want more than 12 audio tracks, because it starts getting crazy and you start getting this huge timeline, right? And it gets messy. And so I try to, maybe it didn't happen on this one, like I said, this was my first short film. But nowadays I do make an effort to stay at 12 audio tracks. Sometimes, like for example, if I do in a big shootout, I just need more. You're going to need more tracks. It's fine. I'm just saying that I try to limit to 12 because to me, that just kind of like, it's a good, I can still fit the timeline in my window and I can see the viewer and, I don't have to scroll up and down through the timeline. Right. But yeah, when you start making cuts or lifting scenes, then I focus on picture first, make those edits, and then and I'll pass it over to my assistant, and my assistant will fix all the sound, all the gaps, or the holes, whatever, or add new sound, take out sound. So I'll pass it along to him or her. I'll take one more question for sure. I got time. Did you have an AE, an assistant editor here, or you synced and transcoded everything on your own? Can you go a bit of how you organize your bins in that sense before you start really cutting? In this case, I was my own assistant on this film. And so the way I did it was kind of, how I showed you. And yes, I did sync everything myself. I think it was, we did not have timecode sync. It was all manual. So by just the claps. This is the way I do it. This is how I like my bins. Like I said, every setup, it's just kind of on its own row, and I can see the thumbnails and know what each clip represents. If I start getting if it's a lot of clips, then yeah, I'll start kind of doing this. I'll start doing this. I like to do it by setup, by letter. I skipped some letters here just because I wanted to keep it simple. So like, I'll do that, say if it had a lot of clips, right? I know some editors, for example, like to they ignore, say the clip name, the setup. So like if this is 1B and this is 1C, they'll be like, oh, you know what? Actually put this one, even though this is 1E, I want to have the over shoulder shots here so I can see them, right? And then I'll have the 2 shot down here, which makes sense. And then, for example, the reverse shot here, the back seat, I'll put those together. So everyone is different. Like I said, you need to find the way that works for you. But thank you, Rodrigo, for that question. Let's do the Narcos clip, and then one inspiration video for sure. I knew it was going to be a lot of information. All right, I'm gonna. So he says, let's watch a clip from Narcos. This is from season 1, Narcos Mexico. It is the first episode that I co-edited with my very, very good friend, one of my mentors, Monty DeGraff, a veteran of the industry. He gave me the opportunity to edit this episode with him. I was an assistant on the first season of Narcos Mexico. But I'll show you a scene, and I'll talk about it.
Man, this is delicious.
You like those, huh?
No more fish sticks.
You excited Mom's coming home?
Obviously. Oh. What is it?
Wait right there. Felix! I'm talking to you!
Very simple scene. Very simple scene. But the reason I like to bring this up or show this is because a lot of conversations went into it. And like I said, it was my first co-editing credit. And when we knew of the scene, this was so in the clip, Michael Pena plays Kiki Camarena, and Diego Luna playing the bad guy, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. This is the first time they meet. This is episode 7. This is the first time they meet or are in the same space in the season. Kiki Camarena is a DEA agent sent from the U.S. To Mexico, and then is in charge of trying to capture Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, who is responsible for creating the cartels in Mexico, and the Guadalajara cartel. And so this is the first kind of meeting that they have, right? So the big expectations, a lot of conversations from the showrunner, the producers, talking about movie references. I know like Heat was brought up a lot when the first encounter between Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And so they're sending all these notes to the director, to the editor, and Monty DeGraff told me, hey, he said, I want you to edit this scene. That's going to be your scene. I'm like, okay, let's go, right? And so all these notes, and it's very important. And this episode is shot by or directed by Alonso Ruiz Palacios, who I have a story about that because I got to work with Alonso Ruiz Palacios, and many years before that, he and I had a film at the San Diego Latino Film Festival, a documentary that I edited with Laura Castañeda, and Alonso had his own film, and we were on the same screening. And then, like 10 years later, we're working together on an episode of Narcos. Pretty insane, but stuff like that happens. And so he has a very, very interesting style of shooting. I recommend when you watch his films. Museo being the last one, great film. But he has a different style of shooting. And so, we didn't have a lot of footage to work with. So I'm going to show you kind of just really quickly, show you here, go through the clip and just kind of tell you some little minor, decisions that were made in the editing room. First thing is, these characters, they show up later in the episode. We've been following them throughout the episode. So we kind of start there and dolly back and reveal Michael Pena, Kiki Camarena having a torta with his son. One of the things I first noticed when I did this was that I think the kid was not delivering. So another thing, the wife or the mom was, in this case, she's away in San Diego for a while. They miss her. But we needed to show that somehow they were thinking about the mom. He wasn't delivering the lines, say, at the right moment. The kid wasn't. There's a reference to some fish sticks that I think in an earlier part of another scene, there's a funny moment where Michael Pena gives him fish sticks and he burns them. So I wanted to incorporate that moment into it. So a lot of
Delicious.
Like those, huh?
No more fish sticks.
so where he says like no more fish sticks, it's referring back to like I said, an earlier scene. It's a joke, and And so he doesn't say that, no more fish sticks. He doesn't say it there. And Michael Pena I don't know what he was reacting to. I don't know what he laughs at. But I said, okay, well, since we don't see the kid's mouth, we can just insert whenever he does say no more fish sticks. I'll just put it there. Michael Pena's reacting, but so, you don't know what he's reacting to, but in the scene. So, it's just kind of, it creates a little moment. It's a little moment. Nothing major, but it's a little moment. And it just, it adds something to the scene. They miss their mom and they make a callback to an earlier scene where he burns the kid's fish sticks. Then moving along, then this was the big one. He catches a sight of Diego Luna. And so so the way that Alonso shot it, there was another shot. I first started the scene from the back of Diego Luna. He actually starts inside that building. He's in that room. He opens the door and comes out, which was great. It was a great shot, right? As I'm editing the scene by itself, I'm like, this is a great way to start. Then when I was putting the scene together with the other scenes, the scene before this, we end with Diego Luna. I think at that time he was in a mansion with another one of the main characters, Rafa. And so the end shot was them arguing like in a living room, and then we cut to the back of Diego Luna's head coming out of this grungy whatever apartment, whatever it is. And so we're like, well, he was just in a mansion, and now we're in this kind of dark, grimy apartment, and he's walking. Where are we? Like, where is he walking out to? Like, we were in this secluded kind of mansion. Now we're like in the middle of Mexico City. So I'm like, that does not work. And so I let go of that idea, and then instead went from Michael Pena to him. And at this point, it's like, well, what is he doing there? Is he just, this is the end. This is what you have, and you just try to do the best with what you have. But the point is that he just clocks Diego Luna, where he's coming from, that doesn't matter, right? And so we decided to leave it that way. He looks back at the kid. Again, kind of closer shot on Diego Luna. He sees him. I like this move Alonso made here. It was a great way to get him off the table.
Wait right there.
Who is it? Kikito, the kid, does not say that there.
Wait right there.
He doesn't say anything. I don't think he said anything. And so I'm like, to add more kind of mystery or, suspense, I grabbed that line from Kikito saying, who is it, somewhere else. You don't see it.
Wait right there.
And it's like, the kid's like, oh, who is this guy, right? It just, again, adds like another little layer. Nothing big, but it just adds something to the scene. And he says, wait right there. That little push, it's a little push. I just did an Avid. I did a resize keyframe to get more of kind of like a Peña's perspective walking towards Diego Luna. I just did an Avid, 2 keyframes, animated it, walks over, made it larger. So Michael Pena does not say that. So when he's walking over to the car, it just was silence for the whole walk to the car. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything on set. And so like, we just need a line. We need something. And so that was just ADR. I think my one of the editors, Hugo, did that line. He was like kind of like the Kiki Camarena character throughout the season for ADR. And so, and he says a curse word there. And so we just plug that in, and then later down the line, when they're mixing the show, Michael Pena records that line. They put it on there, and it just, again, adds something. And then here, nothing. It's just that's the end of the scene. Nothing. I said nothing major. But I'm just saying that there's even a scene as simple as this. There's a lot of conversations that go behind it. A lot of discussions with the producers even before they shoot it. And sometimes you don't get what you ask for, or you get something different, but you have to make it work with what you have, right? So I just wanted to share that clip with all of you. And so any questions here, I'll gladly take them. And if not, we'll move on to the next little bit. I want to talk about kind of some of my inspirations and show a clip of that. We'll do probably one clip. And so we'll get to that right now with Moises, checking to see if anyone has questions. We have some questions. Great. Let's hear them. Alessandro Rodriguez, how was your thought process changed or evolved through the years when you approach cutting a scene? Before I think throughout the years I've gotten more in in touch with storytelling, emotion, rhythm, and pacing. I think before and earlier on, I think it was a lot for me about just simply kind of matching cuts, making honestly just stuff look cool. And I was really focused a lot on continuity, and continuity is important. But if you're in the story, right? I mean, as long as it's continuity, say if I have my hand here or I'm holding something here, and then the next shot I don't have it. I mean, if that's jarring, then you don't want it. That'll take you out of the story. You don't want that. But if you're in the story and it's working, and you have something that's not matching, I believe in letting it go. But I think, now I'm just more in tune with performances, really, really focusing more on performances. I look at the eyes, gestures. That'll help me usually move along with cuts and create a certain pace and rhythm. I focus a lot more now, I think, on like I said, performances and movement within that performance. One more common question. I always say editing is co-directing. I agree with you, Gabriel. It is. People have little different thoughts about that. But it's the final rewrite. It's the final rewrite. Editing is the final rewrite. It's where everything comes together. I mean, this is a collaborative process. This is a team, process. Everyone, obviously, I mean, there's so many people, departments working on this. But editing is where everything comes together, and you're making changes, you're moving stuff around. And again, I repeat, it's like the invisible art, because you'll have a script, and then at the end, that's so important to see like scripts and then say the finished movie, because stuff will get moved around. Lines will get taken out, lines will be put in. And that's what real editing is, right? It's not just about putting shots together. It's like, where can we move stuff? Where can we, how do we create this tension, emotion, whatever it is, suspense. We might need to move the scene that was at the end of the script. We might need to move it sooner. The storyline might, be better off in the beginning, right? But you are making these decisions, and then you're collaborating with the director for many hours a day, and you're just coming up with creative ideas on how to make the story better. So yes, I agree with you. Teresa, so did you independently decide to add text, or did you have to discuss it before presenting him with your idea already with visuals matching the suggested new dialogue? Well, I gotta say, in a show like Narcos, we have a lot of freedom with creating lines in Spanish, right? That's where that's really cool on the show, and me being able to be fluent in Spanish, is that I can suggest a lot. I'll say this, and I'll let you know, a lot of our writers don't speak Spanish. It's come to a surprise of a lot of people. And so, as an assistant, when I was an assistant, they relied a lot on assistants to be fluent in Spanish. And I think at one point, Narcos, back in the Colombia days, there was not one single Spanish-speaking member of the post team. I mean, like, no one. Eventually, I think they started getting like Spanish-speaking assistants. But when I was working on it as an assistant, the editors that I work with, they didn't speak Spanish, and so they would cut scenes just looking at there's a script that was translated, and so they would just that was their guide. And so when they would cut a scene, they would bring me into the room and say, "Hey, watch this scene. Did I cut off anything? Tell me what you think." And so I would watch the scene, and sometimes they would cut off words or use a word that didn't make sense or whatever. But they would cut it by themselves. I think eventually they learned Spanish just from watching so many dailies in Spanish. But yeah, I mean, like, and I've cut a project in Russian, right? And so in the end, it's like, you're going a lot by emotion. I mean, and you're just telling a story visually, right? And so as long as you have something that's translated, you can use it as a guide. And we certainly do that on Narcos. So yeah, no, Narcos. Yeah, I suggest a lot. Even in my episode right now, I start adding lines, and if they don't like it, they take it out, But that's how I do it. I just get here. I just on this mic start recording it because I do work like everyone's working from home, and so yeah, I'm cutting Narcos at home. All right, so maybe we want to talk about inspirations. We're gonna watch a clip from Casino. So I gotta say, Martin Scorsese, director Martin Scorsese, and his editor Thelma Schoonmaker, I think are the reason why I first had a strong interest in cinema and filmmaking and editing. I think a lot of people will say the same thing. I just connect with their style of editing, and I always have. And I think that was the first time that I paid attention to editing. Watching their films. The first one I saw, I think, from Martin Scorsese was Taxi Driver. I think maybe Raging Bull, which has obviously phenomenal editing. I think, I won the Oscar for it. But Casino was the film. I was in high school, and Casino was the film that made me want to say, "Hey, I see filmmaking as a future." Goodfellas was before that, and it's an amazing film, of course. But Casino is just at that moment in my life. I remember when I was in high school that I watched it, that I said, I want to be Martin Scorsese. Anyways, here's a clip. We're going to watch a clip from Casino where Robert De Niro, who's Ace Rothstein character, first meets Sharon Stone, Ginger, at the casino. Let's check it out.
Get it all.
God damn it! Trying to make it real compared to what suck it to me.
In Vegas, everybody's got to watch everybody else. Since the players are looking to beat the casino, the dealers are watching the players. The boxmen are watching the dealers. The floormen are watching the boxmen. The pit bosses are watching the floormen. The shift bosses are watching the pit bosses. The casino manager is watching the shift bosses. I'm watching the casino manager, and the eye in the sky is watching us all. Plus, we had a dozen guys up there, most of them ex-cheats, who knew every trick in the house.
Trying to make it real compared to what
Thank you. Very nice.
I told you I was hot tonight.
Let's go. This is for Ginger. Come on. This is for Ginger. Let me have 100 on the hard 10. 100 on the hard 10. Thank you.
Hard 10. All right.
Take care. Drive fast.
Thank you very much.
Ginger, honey, this is for you, love. Thanks for your time. What's the matter?
What do you mean, what's the matter? I made a lot of money for you. I want my cut.
What money? I've seen you spending from me.
What money? Look at the stack of chips. Don't give me that shit. I want my
I've been watching you all night.
Don't give me that shit. I want my money.
Put up fucking chips.
I didn't steal anything from you.
Get lost, Ginger. Get lost! Yes.
Get lost?
Yes.
Well, how about
I've been told, baby, you've been told I won't be your fool no more.
What a
I just want to keep watching. If you have not seen Casino, please go watch it tonight, or any Martin Scorsese movie. I highly recommend Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver. I mean, he's great. And Thelma, I mean, they've been working together for I don't know how many years, 30 years, whatever. She's won 3 Oscars. But that scene right there, I mean, they throw everything at it. I mean, it's like they start with this, the montage going around the casino, the kind of operations with the music. I mean, Martin Scorsese is known for his music. I think maybe that's why one of the things why I always loved this film is just the use of his music, like source music, needle drops, like say pop music or whatever. And so, they go through all this montage kind of showing you everything. And then we end up, on the cameras, security cameras, he clocks Sharon Stone, and then sees her, putting that the chip in her purse. And then, we cut the silent. There's no sound. They take out all the sound. We're focusing on the fact that she's stealing or that chip, no sound. And then we go back into another song. We go down to the pit. We're with them, some dialogue, more music, more festive music as she, throwing all the chips in the air and everything. Then there's another shift in music. There's a freeze frame that they use. I love, even just how, like I said, that stuff comes a lot from, I remember watching the 400 Blows, one of the, a French New Wave film that, has a very, iconic, freeze frame at the end. Watch that as well. 400 Blows by Francois Truffaut, which I know was a big inspiration on Martin Scorsese. But we see that freeze frame. We cut back to De Niro, and you hear that song, "Hey baby," she's the one. It's like, he's like captivated by her, and even knows that don't mess with her, but he has to. I mean, he's so captivated by her. And so, like I said, they just use so many. I mean, they threw everything at that kind of montage last scene there. But as you can see, they could do everything. What you're trying to just tell a story. So anything is possible. You need to use a freeze frame. Use a freeze frame. Does a freeze frame help you tell your story? Absolutely, use it. Obviously with all those pans and everything that they're doing, and that stuff is choreographed and so it's very deliberate. But as someone like Martin Scorsese who thinks a lot about editing, he's a big editing guy, and so he understands it. And so I think it's also very important. Like I think that for everyone, not just directors, everyone. I think it's good to know something about other departments, right? Just kind of how things work, how does sound work, music, just understand cameras if you can. I'm not saying become a DP, but you can know a little bit about lenses. It helps. And so, definitely I love that movie. And that was, I think, I wanted to show that scene just because, I love their style, and it just kind of threw everything at that scene. I know we have some questions. I definitely want to get to that before we start wrapping it up. Nagam Osman, good to see you here. Do you watch the footage in, I'm sorry, I apologize if I did not say your name correctly. So do you watch the footage in a specific order? No, pretty much I just, grab the bin and highlight everything, and just basically from the first setup. So I guess, it's from the first setup, and then drag and drop it, and then just hit play, hit the space bar and watch, and sit back and enjoy it. Right. And either take written notes or maybe mental notes. Right. And so, there's no specific order. Like I said, it's just a matter of drag and dropping in the timeline and watching it. I think this is it. I think we've reached our last question, and I think it's time to wrap things up. I know we went a little long, but I knew it was going to, because I can talk all day about editing. I want to thank you for being here. This was awesome. I love talking about editing and teaching more about it. And so I want to thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to be here. I want to thank the Media Arts Center San Diego for having me. This was great. Thank you to Ethan Ventelo, Moises Esparza, for all your help and for having me here. Thank you. If you want to learn more about my Hollywood Editing Mentor program, check out hollywoodeditingmentor.com/community. Sign up for the newsletter. You'll get access to a private Facebook group where I do stuff like this, live office hours, question and answer sessions. you'll get the ability to submit questions for the podcast. I have a podcast as well. Thank you, Nopani. Thanks for being here. And there's a whole community. You can meet a lot of other post-production professionals. And so it's a good networking platform. And like I said, a lot of good advice there on HollywoodEditingMentor.com. Check out HollywoodEditingMentor.com/community and sign up for the newsletter. Go do it right now. All right, guys. Hey, Rodrigo. Awesome, Rodrigo. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everyone, for being here. This was awesome. I want to wish everyone happy holidays and a happy new year. It's going to get better. I promise. But again, thank you. Thank you very much. I really, really enjoyed this. And I hope to do it again soon. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I'll see you next time.